So where did I leave off? As far as the books go, again, you have the Bible, the 66 books that were put together, compiled together, that deal with specific, uh, you don't even have dates, but specific places and specific people. That deals with specific prophecies that have come to pass, and those that have not come to pass are those that we're waiting for in the future. And then you have the Dr. Seuss book, which deals with none of that, and one can easily see that it is a work of fiction. So to say that you have a Dr. Seuss book and you read it doesn't mean that any of the characters in it are real, would be an accurate assumption. But you read the Bible and you know that the characters within it are real. Just as you know that there was an author of the Dr. Seuss books, that God is the author of the books of the Bible. So in that, you know that if the Bible itself, within the pages, within the scriptures, it tells you that God is the author and finisher of our faith, and that God inspired, He moved upon the men to write, to inspire them to write the scriptures and to write down all the knowledge that He knew, and impart that so that other generations can read it. You can say that, okay, in the same with the Dr. Seuss book, that you know that there was an author who wrote down the knowledge of, and you can easily say the world that he created within the Dr. Seuss book. It is a world that he created. Though we know that they are not real to Dr. Seuss, that may have been a real world to him. Who knows? I don't know. But all I'm saying is that to use that as an example, to use the Dr. Seuss book as an example to go against the Bible, it really doesn't make sense, because there is so much more within the Bible that you can lead to and know that it is real and you can believe it, versus the Dr. Seuss book, which we know not to be real, which we know to be a work, a figment of one man's imagination. And we know that that man was real. So yeah, it baffles me that anyone would use that as a way to, I don't know, dispute the Bible, dispute whether or not it should be taken as being valid. But like I said before, I had ended the second part was, the various other religions out there that all, like in the beginning when I said they all point to a certain thing, and is that they point to there's a God, that a blood sacrifice is needed, and then we can add on the fact of a Messiah will come, and that a Messiah will come. And we know, and I know many people say Jesus isn't real, but I mean, check your facts, check your history, check. There are plenty of historians who have wrote about Christ. Even in the Bible itself, they tell you not to take their word for it. Go ask such and such and such and such, And so we know that Christ is real. We know that He's a real figure, that He did come. Even the Jews in their book, they wrote of Him. They didn't write of Him in a good light. They considered Him to be a sorcerer, and that He led many people away from God. So if they considered Him to be a sorcerer, that would say that He was doing miracles and that He led them away from God. You have other historians that write about Him, who write about the people in their chains, who write about how at one point they were claiming that their Messiah was dead, and all of a sudden there was a rejuvenation of people, and then Christians started coming in the masses, from everywhere. So we have that in the Bible. We have the prophecies. We have the historical events, all of which that have lasted for ages. And even if you were to say, well, such and such writings have lasted, there are no other books that have as many copies or compiled copies as the Bible. There are plenty of books that were written not too long after His death, which attribute or point to the fact that He was alive and things like that. There are other things that in history or other people that we read about and who we read about that we readily believe that they existed, yet they don't have nearly as many manuscripts or written documents about them after their death. You know, some of the things appeared hundreds of years after their death. But like I said, for me, that's another point in proving that God is real. The existence of the Bible itself. And I know someone say, well, what about this book? Does this prove, it's not that the book itself, but it is the author behind the book that lets you know that God is real. And we all know that scriptures say that it was God who was the author of it. So him being the author of it, we know that any book that exists had an author. And so if we know that any book that exists had an author, then we must point to that author behind it. Not only that, the contents of what is in the book will let you know whether it's accurate or not. And so if you have something that is in it that deals with certain people, places, and things, and we know that these people, places, and things did not exist, then you don't take it as valid as being something of a divine nature, something from God or a God. In the same aspect of, we have the Bible, which is of its divine nature, which has both prophecy and historical accounts that we know to be true. We know that the Israelites existed. We know that the kings within it existed. They have discovered numerous artifacts depicting Juhu bowing down, other things where they thought that King David didn't exist, when they thought that certain kings didn't exist. God has been so good and so merciful that he has allowed things to come to light that confirm that the Bible to be true. And that alone also lets me know that God is real. I know people don't like to say use the Bible in itself, but what other thing is there to use when you have something that is so grounded in history, so rich in history, and also in the prophecies that are within it that have come to pass, that you would not use that as a way to show that God existed? Because you can always claim that you can go to every other religion and every one of their religious book, but what within there is so grounded in history that you can take it as being true? I haven't read all religious books and all religious things, but I do know that prophecy alone within the Bible has been proven to be true, and that the Bible is accurate when it comes to people, places, and things, and stuff of that nature. I also know that regardless if science wants to confirm it or not, they know that there was some type of flood. They may say they were local floods here and there, but to me, that just speaks volumes that there was a flood. And I don't know if you understand me correctly, but it just lets me know that there was a flood. And I know science wants to say, hey, it's a local flood, but we really don't know. I know that the Bible says it was a cataclysmic flood. It was of the whole world, and that's what happened, and that's what I'm taking to be true. We can go off of what science tries to say, but science has their own agenda, and it's not even that it's science. It's mainly those who believe in evolution and atheists. They have their own agenda in promoting what they want to promote and pushing forward what they want to push forward as being true, as being what is real and what is not. But I'll leave you on that note, and I have some more to talk about that I'll come back with you. Thank you.